You know those books, the ones that grab you so hard you can't stop thinking about them long after you've turned the last page? The ones that sweep you away so completely you'd gladly dive back into those pages again, even with a TBR mountain looming over you. Yeah? Today, I'm sharing my top 10 sci fi, fantasy, and horror novels I would read again in a heartbeat. Let's see if any of your favorites made my list. Welcome back to Fantasy for the Ages. I'm Jim, and here on our channel, my son Zach and I celebrate the best of fantasy, science fiction, horror, and everything in between. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single thing that we drop out here purely for your entertainment. And if you want to support what we do, check out our Patreon. You'll get early access to episodes, bonus content, and more ways to connect with us. There's a link down in the show notes. Now, with over 1,700 books sitting on my TBR, you might wonder what could possibly make me want to reread something when I've got so many new adventures waiting for me. Well, the answer is simple. These are the books that sucked me in with deeply compelling stories. They delivered story beats that aligned perfectly with my interests, with what works for me. And above all, they swept me away to new settings and worlds so fascinating that I had to keep turning those pages. That's what earns a reread from me. Before we dive into the top 10 such reads, I've got a couple of honorable mentions. These are incredible series that I'd absolutely love to revisit, and I recommend to anybody, but for specific reasons, they don't quite make the cut for this top 10. The first honorable mention is The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Epic fantasy series, 14 books, and a prequel. First book came out in 1990, and the series didn't finish until 2013. Quite a span. I've already reread this series multiple times, which is why it is not on the list. It's just a given. It's one of my great loves in my fantasy journey. But it doesn't quite feel fair to put it in the top 10 with all of those rereads that are already done. It's just like, duh, The Wheel of Time. And yes, I probably will spend more time in these books. Honorable mention number 2 goes to Malazan Book of the Fallen by Stephen Erickson. Again, epic fantasy of a somewhat darker vibe. 10 main novels in that book series. First one came out in 1999, and it ended in 2011. Why don't I put this on my list? I'd love to reread this saga. But let's be honest, that's a massive commitment. These are not easy books to get through. If I ever do tackle them again, it's definitely going to be audiobook this time, because I read them page after page on my Kindle app. But still, I worked through the text, and it was so fantastic, but also deep, layered, hard to comprehend at times, but so worth it. But still, next time, it would be audio. But I don't know if I'll ever get to the next time, because they'll take a long time to get through no matter when I read them. And I haven't even finished the rest of the Malazan content that's out there, but that Erickson and Ian C. Esselmont have been writing, and they're still finishing some more books. So I've got to get all of them done before I even possibly entertain going back to Malazan Book of the Fallen. But it would be something. Okay then, let's do this. The top 10. In ranked order, number 10 would be It by Stephen King. Horror is the genre, published back in 1986. In a small Maine town, childhood friends face a terrifying evil that resurfaces every 27 years. As adults, they're called back to finish what began in their youth. Why would I want to reread this one? Well, King perfectly blends nostalgia of that older time period with bone-chilling horror. The Losers Club from this book series is one of the most memorable casts in all of horror fiction. And it's a book that gets under your skin and it stays there. There's something special about it, and it makes each return just as haunting as the first time. Yeah, good memories with that one. Number 9 is The Expanse by James S.A. Corey. This is a space opera style science fiction series, 9 core books, plus numerous novellas and short stories. Publication was 2011 through 2022. Humanity's colonization of the solar system teeters on the edge of chaos when an alien protomolecule changes everything. Politics, war, and survival play out on a galactic scale. Such a good series. Why is it reread worthy? Why would I love to go right back to it? Well, the politics and character conflicts are just as gripping on a second read. The scale of humanity's future in space, awe-inspiring. And the mix of mystery, action, and philosophy, it rewards repeat visits. Number 8, The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. Science fiction series, there's 7 books so far, a blend of novellas and novels. And there are a few short stories scattered in there too that if you haven't got those, you should make sure to read them. This series started in 2017, but it is not done. Martha Wells is under contract for a few more books, at least. What's it about? A socially anxious security unit that calls itself Murderbot just wants to binge watch media. Who doesn't? But keeps getting dragged into saving humans. Why is this one something I would dive back into? Murderbot's voice. It's hilarious and very relatable, actually. The books are short, punchy installments that make revisits very easy. None of these are going to break your toe when you drop the book, unless it's on your iPad Pro. And the blend of humor, heart, and action never loses its charm. This is just a delightful series. For number 7, more of an older one I'm throwing back to, and that's Guardians of the Flame by Joel Rosenberg. This is a fantasy series. It's 10 books long. First book came out in 1983, and I read it shortly after that. And the last one completed in 2003. College students find themselves transported into their D&D style fantasy world. They were literally playing D&D, and suddenly they're there as their characters. And find very quickly this is not a game anymore. Actions have consequences. Why would I want to go back to it? It was a fresh spin on Portal fantasy decades before anyone was talking about lit RPGs. Then there's the themes. There are moral dilemmas around slavery and freedom that still resonate today. And the early books, very fast-paced, gripping adventures with real stakes, totally sucks you in. It does slow down and get a little more meandering in the later books, but especially those early books would be just a delight to go back to again, as I have before. For number 6, I'm giving you the Sword of Shannara trilogy by Terry Brooks. Epic fantasy trilogy. Obviously, I'm just talking about the first 3 books then. They started in 1977, and the third one came out in 1985. In a post-apocalyptic world with echoes of Tolkien, maybe more than echoes, the Shannara family fights evil with legendary weapons and inherited destinies. Why? Why would I go back to this? Well, it was one of my first big, epic fantasy series, so pure nostalgia fuel. Each book in this trilogy builds out the world of the 4 lands beautifully. It just comes to life in your head. And the mix of familiar tropes with Brooks' unique twists makes it timeless, so pleasant to spend time in. While I'm referencing specifically that opening trilogy, when I go back to it again, it will probably be a launching pad to restart the entire 30-plus novel series. So many good times. We're halfway through the list. Number 5 is The Dragon Riders of Pern by Anne McCaffrey. Science fantasy. This is a real genre mashup. 24 main novels, many short stories. The first book came out as a book in 1967. It was out in 66 as a couple of novellas. And the last book came out in 2012. On a distant planet, genetically engineered dragons and their riders defend humanity from a deadly recurring menace called Thread. Why would I read this? Well, to be honest, I haven't even finished this yet. I'm still working through the series, and one of my next reads will be book 16. But the first 11, I've already reread a couple of times. It's the core of the original story, and it's so good. The bond between rider and dragon, unforgettable in this series. McCaffrey's blend of fantasy and science fiction, it's seamless. It's like nothing else I'd read before this. And Pern, where this takes place, is one of the most immersive and beloved settings in science fiction and fantasy. Worth checking out if you never have, if somehow this was not on your radar, and I look forward to spending any time I can in Pern. Number 4, very much tonal shift from what I was talking about. The Walking Dead comic series by Robert Kirkman. This is horror and graphic novel series, 193 issues in the entire run, which are now collected in volumes and compendiums that you can purchase. The first one came out in 2003 and the run ended in 2019. Survivors of the zombie apocalypse struggle not only against the undead, but against the dangers of human nature. Why would I reread this? And I have already reread this more than once and would love to dive back in. The character arcs, wow. Some are really uplifting, some completely devastating. They're just endlessly compelling. Then there's the moral questions about leadership and survival that are universal, have true ties to life as we know it. And finally, even knowing what's coming, because I've read these before, the tension, it hits hard, man. There's pain in here. Oh, but also there's some wins. There's people rising above. Good stuff. Number 3, The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Urban fantasy, and I think peak urban fantasy. There are 17 books in this series so far. It's ongoing. Plus multiple novellas and short stories that round out the reading experience. Novel number 18, 12 Months, is scheduled to come out next January. So not much longer to wait. Lucky people I've seen have gotten arcs from Butcher. Man, I wanted one. So the first book, Stormfront, came out in 2000, and as I said, this is an ongoing series. What's it about? Harry Dresden, Chicago's only professional wizard, who's also a private investigator, solves magical crimes while battling dark powers and wrangling with his own inner struggles. Why reread this one? Well, I love hanging out with this story. Harry Dresden, the primary protagonist, his sarcastic voice is addictive. Butcher is writing right in the sweet spot for my sense of humor. Then there's the fact that the series grows richer and more complex with each book. I've been watching Matt over at Go Read Books YouTube channel. He's been working his way through this series for the first time, and he's gotten sucked in more and more. And I'm like, I remember that ride. Also, like I said, this is urban fantasy at its finest. I fell in love with urban fantasy as a subgenre because of the Dresden Files. This stuff is packed with heart and humor in equal measure, and it's so much fun to dive back into. Number 2 is a standalone book, World War Z, An Oral History of the Zombie War by Max Brooks. If you've been around me at all, around this channel, you know I'm a fan of the zombie apocalypse subgenre. This novel sits right there. It's horror, it's apocalyptic fiction. There are zombies. It was published back in 2006. The synopsis: survivors from across the globe recount their experiences of a zombie apocalypse after the fact in a chilling oral history format. If you've watched the movie, trash. I mean, the movie is entertaining to me, but it does not capture the wonder and awesomeness of the book. It just kind of borrowed the title and had zombies. the book is so much better. So, why would I want to dive back in? The global scope makes every reread of this story feel fresh still. The documentary style storytelling in the book is unique and immersive. I've seen others do it now, but this really hit it first for anything I'd experienced. And it's fantastic. And this book is packed with insights about humanity, about survival, about resilience. The best fiction has those deeper elements, and World War Z's got it in spades. But number one, the book that I most would read in a heartbeat, and I have been through it multiple times, The Stand by Stephen King. Horror and post-apocalyptic fantasy. This was published originally in 1978 in a abridged format because the book was bigger than the publishers were willing to do for Stephen King in 1978. An uncut, unabridged version that I adore and have sitting right there. You can see it on my bookshelf. That came out in 1990 when King was like, "Hey, I want to publish the whole thing." They were like, "Yes, sir, Mr. King. Whatever you like, we will do whatever you want. You just keep making us a lot of money." After a devastating plague wipes out most of humanity, the survivors are drawn into an ultimate showdown of good versus evil. Why? Why have I reread this so many times? The scale of King's vision is unmatched in this story. Epic, yet intimate in the various characters and what they're experiencing. These characters, they feel like real people, and you cannot forget them. And again, I've reread it multiple times, but each time it still hits powerfully. And I do still catch little nuances that, how did I not pick up on that before? Ah, marvelous stuff. That's my strong number one. So there you have it. My list of science fiction, fantasy, and horror books that I'd read again in a heartbeat. But now I want to hear from you, both your reaction to my list and which books or series you feel the same way about. Put them down there. Books that, regardless of how big your TBR is, you'd still take the time to reread these. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to compare notes. Again, a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. You help keep this channel operational. We appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.